Today's webinar is a information system session about project at Austin Macomb School of Business uh, Bootcamp. But let's move on. We'll be joined today by Timothy Jerome. At Austin Macomb School of Business Bootcamp. But let's move on. We'll be joined today by Timothy Jerome. At Austin Macomb School of Business Apologize for that, a little network problem on this end. As I mentioned, we'll be joined by Timothy Jerome, who is one of our senior PMP trainers. He'll be substituting for Bryan Campbell today. And he'll be joining us in a few minutes. What we're going to talk about today is project management careers. We'll be asking you a few poll questions along the way about yourselves. We'll talk about what this program offers and how it gets you job ready. And we'll cover enrollment steps and we'll take your questions. My name is Stuart Creek. I'm with Simplilearn. I am part of the organization that is the delivery partner for UT Austin for this program. And I'll be your host today. Let's talk a little bit about careers in project management. Pardon me. Project management is a universal skill. It's something that applies to every aspect of business and organizations. And project management has changed a great deal over especially in recent years. Modern project management includes frameworks and tools and digital skills that allow you to manage complex and transformational projects, large projects, very involved projects, much different from the past environment of simple waterfall project management or Gantt charts or that type of thing. Project management is a evolving field, and there are new techniques that are available, and it has applications in every industry and every company. Everything that we do that involves some type of planning for actions in the future can be looked at through a project management lens. It's important because project management involves setting expectations appropriately so that people can understand what they're going to get, when they're going to get it, how much it will cost, and all of that has to be balanced so that it meets the objectives of your organization or your business. So, as we say, the different usually, you need to be able to develop a project plan, manage your deliverables according to the plan. You need to be able to recruit the appropriate resources, including individuals. You need to be able to lead and manage your team. It requires leadership skills. You need to apply the correct methodology for the project, depending on what type of project it is, what the scope is. You need to establish a project schedule so that you can plan out how you're going to deliver and according to what timetable. You need to be able to appropriately assign tasks to team members so that the work is divided appropriately and people use their skills to the best of their ability. And you need to be able to communicate progress to your upper management. You need to be able to communicate any issues that may come up, request resources, All of that is extremely important in the process of project management. So it's not a closed system. It's something that involves working with all the parts of your organization. And you need a suite of skills. And Tim has just joined us. Timothy, good to see you. You're on mute. There you go.
Good day, Stuart. How are you?
I'm great. Timothy, I was just talking about the universality of project management, and you might be able to comment on these slides here. So,
Yeah, I can speak quickly to this.
please do.
And by the way, did you introduce me yet, Stuart?
Briefly, so you can give yourself a more thorough introduction.
I've now taught over 18 years project management and preparing for the PMP exam. I've taught over 10,000 students. I'm a research advisor and analyst. I interact with leaders in the industry. I take on 2 or 3 mentors who report into CEOs of billion-dollar-a-year corporations. I play with that. This is my joy. I live to help project managers with their career development, and part of that is help them gain their PMP credential. How's that?
That's perfect. Okay. And so, yeah, if you would like to talk about how project management is different today from what it was when we began.
Boy, oh boy. Okay, so let's do a little history of project management, and I'll make this quick for everybody. So we've always done projects, right? Project is just a group of work that has a start and an end, and it creates something that has a purpose. And mostly corporations, nonprofit organizations create a project that fulfills a business need, and they're willing to set aside time, money, and resources and somebody to manage this because it's a critical change. That's why project management exists. It started as a formal career path back right after World War II in the United States with the Navy and the Coast Guard, and they created a set of tools. And they said, here's some scope tools, schedule tools, and budget tools we need to look at. And then they started looking at this in the early to mid 1960s. They said, hey, it's much more than scope, schedule, and budget. It has to be stuff like resources, human and physical resources. It has to be something like communication, because I'm working with team and stakeholders, has to take into account contracts. So it's pulling all these things together. Now, something really strange happened in 2015. The Project Management Institute was catching wind of this earlier, and they were working with research analysts, and they said, you know what? We're going to have to learn not just how to do these technical things. They called them process-focused activities, right? They said, we need to learn management and leadership, because a lot of your work is not telling people to do stuff and making them wrong. A lot of the work is influence and motivating them. So the exam back in 2018 and 2019 started being focused, half of it on that stuff, right? On leadership. And then they said, you know, you got to learn a little bit about business, because projects impact business, and how do project and business work together. And then finally, they said here, and this made that change in 2020, I think, Agile's important. And project managers are not going away, because why? What's the role of a Scrum Master in budget? What's the role of an Agile expert in managing contracts? And so we had to define this whole framework that incorporates business and process and leadership together. And so it's not just a technical framework. Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a frightening thing. And yeah, this is how change happens. And it became such a great set of tools that from 1984, when the exam first became public, it was automatically recognized not just as a nice to have, but as a need to have for business. And business says this is our new brass ring to help us become successful.
Yeah. So there's a whole suite of different functions that from the traditional view of project management, but as you pointed out, Tim, that there's their interaction and their interplay is very different today than looking at each of these in isolation.
I was just talking with one of my friends. He runs 100 million and $300 million projects for states in the United States. And he said when he started, it was all rules and tools and arts and charts, right? Follow the
Mhm.
thing and formally change. But we can't do that now. The world's crazier. We all know what's been happening here from 2018 to 2020 to 2023. We have what do we have? We have VUCA. We have volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. And change is a constant. So our understanding of projects and project management has to incorporate the ability to manage within that change and still be successful.
Yeah. And as you're pointing out, the importance of project management and the ability to do it in a modern fashion is incredibly vital. Uh, I look at examples for the state of Oregon a few years ago um, wanted to implement new systems at a statewide level and contracted with Oracle Corporation, and the entire process fell apart. It's basically that was a major failure of project management, and um, so with those kinds of spectacular failures as cautionary examples, it just highlights how important it is to to understand the different aspects of project management and to be able to apply them intelligently so that you can take on, like you said, the VUCA environment of uncertainty and ambiguity and be able to adapt as the situation around you changes and keep your project going towards the goal that you're seeking. So these are some of the skills that you teach in your uh, trainings with Simplilearn and UT Austin. So um, I don't know if you want to comment on these, but these are all aspects, as you mentioned, of modern project management as opposed to the, as you said, arts and charts.
Yeah, so yeah, you're right, exactly. And it's not that we need to be certified as project managers in all these areas, right? What we need to know is how to identify the experts who can help us with these pieces and how to integrate or bring these in as part of those, and what the value of each one of these areas of knowledge are. Our job is not to play a trombone or play a trumpet or play a flute when it's needed. It's how do we weave all these things together. And what we're talking about with these bullets on the screen are different instruments that we've learned over the last 20 to 40 years that are really valuable for the problems that are hitting us right now in our society.
So I have a poll question for the audience, and this first poll question is: um, you're all here because you're interested in project management as a field. What has stopped you from taking a course of this type or program of this type? Is it because you can't find that kind of comprehensive curriculum that covers the tools, skills, and concepts that Tim was talking about, or is it because you don't feel that a program would give you practical experience that you can demonstrate? Is it because you find it difficult to learn from pre-recorded self-paced videos, or is it because your work schedule is so tight that you don't feel you have enough time to fit in learning. So I'll leave this open for another 15 or 20 seconds as the answers continue to come in. All right, the numbers have stopped changing, so I'm going to go ahead and close the poll, share the results with you. 60% of the audience worried that they wouldn't get practical exposure to demonstrate the skills they've learned. And then the other next most common answer is finding time in your work schedule. So let's talk about how this program from UT Austin works. Well, the Project Management Bootcamp, which is offered by the McCombs School of Business at University of Texas at Austin. It's a 6-month program. We say that it takes about 10 or 15 hours of commitment of time each week. By the way, the QR code will take you to the program page if you're interested. So it's a comprehensive curriculum, and we'll get into that in a moment. But it's aligned with the needs of industry so that at the end of this process, you have a set of skills, knowledge that is suitable for the needs of industry. Integrated case studies and hands-on projects that all happen on the same platform. It's all delivered digitally online. Uh, Online live virtual classes that you take weekly that let you interact with instructors like Timothy and be able to get your questions answered directly, follow on with them as they take you through exercises. It'll let you interact with your peers in the class. On the same digital platform, you have access to your projects, case studies, all in a sandboxed environment so that you have a virtual machine that you can do work on. You don't need to have a separate set of tools necessarily on your own desktop. You can access it from anywhere. A lot of the materials, preparatory materials between classes, for example, are things that you can watch on your mobile device whenever you want. So with a 24/7 access to the platform, you can schedule your work other than the scheduled classes. You can work on your other coursework anytime during the week, whenever you feel like it. You can have support if you're working on a project at 3 in the morning and you need help. You can contact a 24/7 help desk. You can ask professors and email them and get an answer in the morning, that type of thing. So this is a great program to fit into any schedule, and it covers the gamut of project management skills. The end of the process, you receive your certificate from University of Texas McCombs School of Business, and that certifies that you've completed the courses in the program and demonstrated your skills, including through the Capstone project at the end of the program. So you've done the hands-on case studies and projects. These become part of your portfolio along with your Capstone project, something that you can then show off to uh, current employer or potential future employers. You get master classes with instructors from UT Austin. You get alumni association membership. We'll talk about other support services that we provide. So I'm going to ask Tim in a few minutes to talk about the Capstone project because that's a really important process. But I'm going to mention the University of Texas at Austin, founded 140 years ago. It currently ranks within the top 40 universities in the world. The business school is just celebrated its 100th anniversary. And this program gives you the certificate, master classes, alumni association, and 146 PDUs for professional development with 35 contact hours. So this is a great part of the process of getting certified. And so having UTA on your CV is something that people will recognize worldwide. Great institution. We're very proud to be the delivery partner with them. So for this program, you don't need extensive prerequisites, but you do need work experience. So educational requirement is just a high school diploma or equivalent. You must be 18 years of age, of course, and then you need to have a minimum of 5 years of work experience in any given field. It does not have to be in project management. You do not have to have a background in programming or technology, because you'll gain whatever skills you need in that aspect through the program itself. Can you, Tim, talk a little bit about why work experience is such a important prerequisite? And you're on unmute yourself now. There you go.
Thanks for that, Stuart. So when we talk about learning and education inside of project management, we just don't talk about skills. We talk about knowledge and attributes. Attributes is the behavior and character that actually you need in approaching some situations within projects and project management. And so this 5 years of work experience is exposure for not just, a checklist that you can follow, but learning to work in and around the look and feel of what projects are. People learn so much, and it's not just recognition learning; it's comprehension learning. So when you come to a learning structure such as this, you bring all of this work history. So your questions are not, how do I build a spreadsheet? Your questions is, why does it have to be that we do these things in this order? So all of a sudden it gives you, it gives you what we call context, the background surrounding information to get to that comprehension quickly.
Yeah, and understanding the context of project management within an organization is something that this experience gives you. So that's, let me ask another question then from the audience, just to give an idea of who's out in today's audience. How much experience do you have? This, just a few seconds while we're waiting. The numbers have stopped changing, so I'm going to go ahead and close the poll. And 2/3 of our audience are people with more than 5 years of experience. It's great. Those are the folks that best qualified for the program. So it's good to see that there's that much experience out there. For people who are in school still, or few years of experience, this is something you want to keep in mind for the future. Maybe look at other potential programs that we have. But this, for the folks who are in the more than 5 years category, this is a great option. So moving on, how the program prepares you. Tim, if you are able to talk about the curriculum and how we build up the set of courses so that they follow in a logical sequence that enables success in each successive course.
Yeah, I'll be happy to. I'll just take about half a minute for each one of these. So with certification training, it prepares you to pass the PMP certification exam, which is a bit of a complex exam. One of the things that you have to remember is it's not the exam actually is not memorization. It's, how to do these tasks of a project manager. So the exam teaches you how to do things and what's the right approach and what type of attitude do you need to approach it with. So with that training, you don't just get what are the tools and how do I use the tools, but again, what knowledge do I need as a project manager and what character With Agile and Scrum Master, all of a sudden you start looking at the VUCA work, right? Volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. Like, like your corporation has just been called into lockdown, and how do I manage within that, right? And Agile is that adaptive attitude, and we go through the attitude you need to do the work. And Scrum is a framework which brings the tools. And so together with Agile attitude and Scrum tools, you actually learn that extension that makes your project management that much more effective, because those tools, they're necessary in adaptive projects, but they're actually beneficial in traditional project management. Now, Microsoft Project's interesting. It's a great tool. And once you have the fundamentals of project management through project management professional certification and Agile Scrum, you can start using this base to explore how do I build a plan? How do I collect the data? How do I analyze the data and generate the reports I need to manage the work? And then on top of that, you start saying, okay, I understand about projects, but how do projects fit within the organization? Like I said, we were talking about business, people, and process at the beginning of this discussion. The PMO is that centralized organization that interacts with the business. And so as a project manager, one of your lifelines and your knowledge base is your PMO. So how do I build one? How do I work with one? What's necessary for a PMO to be successful in an organization? That answers that class. And this is where we say, do you want to be a PMO director? Do you want to be a program manager? Do you want to be an expert in building the corporation's knowledge base and doing projects and project management well? So this program doesn't just make you a good project manager, it makes you an effective knowledge worker within the corporation. How's that, Stuart? I can talk to...
That's great. Can you mention a little bit about the electives? Because the electives are included in the course at no additional cost. They're all based on whether the individual learner wants to take those classes and has the desire and the time to do that. So can you cover some of those?
Sure. So the PMP professional certification is there, and it's part of it, right? And the training itself is one of the basic fundamentals. Now, digital transformation is interesting. This speaks to the understanding that one of our major focuses for the next 50 years is going to be automation and the introduction of new technology like AI into our businesses and business decision making. And so this actually prepares you to start thinking about how your clients, how your stakeholders, and how your company can best do this movement into the information stage of our civilization. Six Sigma is really fascinating because we learned in the middle of the 20th century, you can't just do work. You have to do it well. You have to do it correctly. Now, we talk about that in project management in quality, but with this Lean Six Sigma Green Belt, it gives you an opportunity to get an initial certification in understanding how to build quality into your work. And so bringing that back into your project, you have an opportunity to, number one, have a quality expert as part of your team, but also understand how to do project management and apply quality to your project management work. And then finally, risk is one of the fundamental tools, and an extension of risk is not just managing potential threats, but also managing potential opportunities. And so this whole understanding of preparing you for the risk management professional certification is exposing you to the full spectrum of how do I manage risk, not just to protect my project, but make it even more successful.
Excellent. I also mentioned the project management master classes from UT Austin instructors. So those are ways to get insight into um, industry practice from the professors, and also into more of the um, theoretical background in some of those aspects. So um, some of the tools that get exposed to we mentioned Microsoft Project, also Microsoft Excel, Jira. So these are some of the tools that you um, learn to use in the program, so that you can confidently state that you're capable and qualified in those tools. Capstone Project, and we mentioned that before, is an opportunity to choose a real-world industry-based project problem to solve and develop your solution in your way, under the mentorship of an instructor, like Timothy or someone else, who would meet with you weekly to keep you on track and make sure that you're not getting stuck down any rabbit holes or dead ends, but to keep you in the process of building that project management solution for the problem, and real world data sets, virtual labs, so that you can do this all on the digital platform and submit your project at the end for evaluation. That becomes essentially your final exam for the program, and gets evaluated to qualify you for the final program certificate. Um, Tim, have you um, involved been involved in Capstone project mentorship?
Um, I have
Yeah,
actually. I can give it a little context to that.
yeah, please do.
So let's actually talk about what the learning experience is. You're online, you're going through materials, you're validating that you're learning, you're talking to an expert who can actually say, here, let me clarify your doubts, let me give you a little more context. All of a sudden, in a capstone project, you're put in a real world experience. Now, wouldn't it be nice if you had a new job, like a project manager of a new project, and you had somebody to bounce ideas off of? This is called mentoring. Somebody with 20 years of experience like me, and my experience has to do with building integrated technical systems, building data centers, helping corporations make these transformation decisions that were either make or break for Fortune 50s and Fortune 100s. Wouldn't you like to have somebody to bounce ideas off of when you had doubts with this project? It's having that human touch to say, let's talk about this, and let's do a little role play, and let's practice some things before we actually make some decisions in the project. This is the value. You're actually working within a project environment with ongoing active human support.
Okay, thank you. So that gives you a feel for how this works and the value for it. Dr. Christopher Burke is the program advisor from UT Austin. Um, Developed the curriculum, oversees the delivery, so that he assigns the UT Austin instructors who give the master classes and that type of thing. So he's responsible for the content and quality of the program, and make sure that we at Simplilearn are delivering it according to UT Austin's own standards, so that they can confidently issue certificates to our program graduates. Um, Tim, I'm going to ask if you have access to you. Are you able to share your screen and demonstrate this, or is that available to you?
I don't have access to this
Okay,
today.
I just wanted to ask. I will let you describe how this works in terms of what the learning management platform looks like. So can you describe how students manage their curriculum and interact?
Sure. I can give a general overview.
Uh-huh.
It depends on the various parts of the curriculum, but basically, there's a centralized repository that allows you to schedule and participate in your work, like set up my classes, know when my classes are, and also it has links and information to all that you need there, right? Like how do I stay in touch with other students, how do I stay in touch with the educator, and then on top of that, you have access to other tools for your research. Where do I need to go you know um, for more information? What's coming up, and what do I have to be working on? So it has the syllabus and it has the schedule. But on top of that, it also has an interactive session that helps you with communication. There's a forum base which helps you with what we call both synchronous and asynchronous communication. The synchronous communication allows you to interact with, like what we're doing right now, questions and answers, and validation works really well. And we also have asynchronous communication. You have a work and a home life, and everybody else that's participating in this has a work and a home life. Wouldn't it be great if you could have an extended conversation, much like texting or WhatsApp? And that forum environment allows you to continually interact. When I was teaching project management back in 2004, even up to 2010, once the classes were over, the professors left. And what I've been finding with Simplilearn especially is these days you have interaction with the students and the experts way past the end of the class. It's almost like an extension of a mentoring environment. And it's not just the people who you're interacting with in the class, it's interacting with other students. It's wonderful. Now, why is this important? It's called engagement. If you want to really get through these programs well, it's staying involved. And with this program, please, I think you'll be really happy with how it supports keeping you involved and motivated and moving forward. But at the same time, evaluate these type of programs by how they keep you there, answering your questions, being effective in clarifying doubt, and helping you with these obstacles. And I think you'll be very satisfied with your answers as you evaluate this program.
Yeah. As we also mentioned, and as you mentioned, the support tools include the forum where you can interact with instructors as well as your peers in the program. We have a 24/7 support desk available that answers both questions about the platform itself, how it works, but also about the subject matter. You can tap into subject matter experts if you've reached a doubt or a blocker during the middle of the night when you're working on a project. Um, and it also gives you the ability to track through your program step by step so that as you complete each module, it unlocks that module, gives you a certificate for that module, and then allows you to, it unlocks the next module, I should say, allows you to start that next part of the program in sequence. That's to keep you on track. It gives you reminders and prompts to make sure that you're staying on track, keeps track of your attendance, all of that to make sure that you're being kept accountable for your progress in the program, that you have the maximum chance of success. We can talk about learner outcomes. One of the learner outcomes that we help to facilitate is finding a job. So with our Career Assist, we do not guarantee that you will find a job, but we provide you with tools that make your job search that much more effective. So provide access to ongoing, continuing educational webinars and career events. We provide, of course, the portfolio of projects that you develop during the program itself that become part of your permanent portfolio that you demonstrate to potential employers. And then we provide job assist services through our partner Talent Inc. These include access to the Resume Rabbit job portal with exclusive job listings, which is a valuable part of the program. But I think the more valuable parts actually fall in the resume review and rewrite, one-on-one interview service. Today, resumes have to go through an AI bot as part of the automated tracking systems that companies use. And the AI bot will filter out resumes that by whether they match the job description. Understanding how to format your resume so that the information is accessible and understandable to the AI process is important. But your resume then also has to be formatted so it's attractive when it lands on the desk or the uh, screen of a human evaluator. So the ability to fulfill both of those requirements is kind of an art form, and that's one of the great things that resume rewrite service helps you with. Same thing applies to interviewing. You have a couple of different types of interviews that you'll be called on to do. Um, if you're called in, if your resume makes it through that filter and you're called for an interview, you're going to have to do phone interviews, Zoom interviews, possibly in person live interviews. Some of them are going to be based on your skill set and evaluating you from a technical standpoint. Some of them will be evaluating you as a team member, as a fit to the company culture, uh, evaluating your work style. So having the access to one-on-one preparation sessions for both of those kinds of interview types is a really valuable aspect that helps you get prepared for your job search. Again, these services extend for 6 months after you receive your certificate. And so they're based on your level of demand and how much you want to use them, how effectively you want to use them for your job search. So um, again, we don't force them on you or guarantee a job offer from them, but we do give you all the support that you can ask for in terms of preparing for a job search and conducting it. So we talked about the webinars. You can look at different skills. There'll be sessions on project management techniques or what the state of the industry is, mini courses, a 1 hour lesson on a particular aspect of a particular skill, how to develop your career, things like how to use a job board to find a job, or how to apply different principles to your career development. And all of these are for free, offered by Simplilearn. So you have access to those. And then, as we talked about, the different projects that you can showcase within your portfolio, and these are examples of different capstone project options. Might choose a problem from fintech or from computer gaming or from communications or from information technology. And again, as you can see, these are case study type problems of real world situations, and then you design your solution under the mentorship of your instructor. So based on what Timothy and I have told you today, what you've seen so far, is this something that you would be interested in enrolling in? So we'll leave this question open for a short period of time, considering it's a yes or no. Please get your answers in. We'll leave this open for another 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Almost 90% of the people who responded said they are interested in the program. So let me share with you that process. But first, we'll talk about the enrollment steps. It's pretty straightforward, and I will put into the chat the email address, askus@simplilearn.net, as well as the link to the program page so that you can look at the other materials about it, and into the chat right now. Okay, once you've emailed us and talked to our learning consultants, they will take your proof of employment history, the other information that you need to submit, and they will review your application. And if you're qualified, if evaluation shows that you have a really great chance of successfully completing the program, we'll send you an admission offer. The next cohort of these classes starts February 17th with an orientation. The classes themselves start March 18th. The program fee is $6,000, and it can be financed for as low as $528 a month, 0% financing. We recommend that you contact your employer HR department or learning and development department to find out if they offer a tuition reimbursement program that might cover all or part of the cost of the program. And that'll be your own employer's policies. But we always recommend that people check on that. So to get the process started, do reach out to us at askus@simplilearn.net. One question before we get to the Q&A, which is, if you are interested, how soon would you like to start? Are you looking at the cohort where classes start in March or something soon thereafter, or further down the road? We always say that if this is something that is going to positively change your life and career, it's always worth doing sooner than later. This open for about another 10 seconds. We'll close this poll. 3, 2, 1. Always looking at the patterns, this is a flat distribution. So about 50% of the audience are interested in this coming cohort or the one right after. So you want to contact us at askus@simplilearn.net and get that process started. If you're looking more than 6 months out or more than 3 months out, please do contact us at askus@simplilearn.net, and we will answer any questions you have and keep you in the loop for future cohorts. With that, let me give some time for Timothy and me to answer questions. So I'm going to, stop sharing. You don't need to stare at the slide, I don't think. And I will go through Q&A here. So if you have questions that you put into the chat, please retype them into the Q&A because it's much easier for me to find them. Adeon asks about prospects for traditional project management in light of adoption of Agile. Is there a distinction between quote unquote traditional project managers and project managers qualified in Agile, Scrum, and other techniques? Go ahead, Tim. You can answer that.
Yes. You know what's funny? If you look at the data, they like to differentiate it based on the approach to the work, right? Traditional schedule project management says, I know the work well, and we're going to focus on a plan, where adaptive methods are most like, We don't know what the work is, so we have to focus on the relationships. Well, you talk to somebody who's a traditional project manager for 15 years, they're getting paid 75 to $125 an hour. And they say, you know what? You look at adaptive methods and it's common sense. And about 5 to 10 years in, you start learning about the benefits of these adaptive methods. So you just naturally come to, you know, building them into your traditional project management. Now, that being said, there are certain industries that say we are going to do project management a traditional method, right? Like pharmaceuticals, you have to have that well controlled and well disciplined structure. Fuel and oil, energy projects have to be very well controlled. So they like traditional, and construction's another one of these areas. But like research and like education and even government to a great extent, it's really beneficial for you to understand the two methods and why and how to apply them. And then in your capstone and getting into the work, you can actually say, wow, I don't have two toolkits anymore. I am effective no matter what project I'm dropped into.
Ade also asked a question. He was certified, lost his certification when he moved to North America because of financial concern about renewal, and would like to know what are the advantages of a program like this that go over and above the PMP exam qualification.
So the PMP qualification is PMI has tested and evaluated you, and they're saying to the public, this person is now an expert. This person has this level of knowledge and skills, and they've demonstrated they can perform project management within that. Now, I got my PMP back in 2003, and every time I recertified, I had to either get more training or do more research myself or do other things that kept me current. And so the current exam says, it's going to be 50-50 adaptive and traditional project management. And it's going to be 40% on leadership alone, with 50% looking at what we have been tested on in the past years. So the mix is a little different. So from an is this necessary, to a great extent, it's going to make what's necessary to the changes in the exam a lot easier. Now, when we talk about beneficial, it's incredibly beneficial because you don't just get the ability to pass the exam. You get the ability to, work and explore and develop in a relationship that supports comprehension, not just the book knowledge.
Yep. Thank you. We have an anonymous question, somewhat related. So that they've taken training for the PMP exam. They would like to know whether it makes sense to take the Bootcamp program and take the actual exam afterward, or whether they could take the exam prior to completing the Bootcamp.
There are a lot of factors involved. First of all, when you've, quote unquote, gone through a boot camp, or you've quote unquote earned those 35 contact hours, you can use those 35 contact hours from years ago. Like if you were with me back in 2012 and you got your contact hours back then, it works. But the thing is, it's not current, and it doesn't reflect what has changed in project management. That's the big detail. Now, do I have to get my PMP? That's personal preference. What the PMP does is it exposes you to all the aspects of what project management is and means, and gives you the opportunity to practice it, explore it, and integrate it into your personal toolkit.
Thank you. Joel is currently working in the oil and gas industry in India and is planning to move to North America in June, and is curious to know if this type of project management training is useful in that industry.
Yes. In fact, I worked in 3 sectors within energy, and one of them was fuel and oil. And a lot of mine was working with construction as well as the management of refinement. And think about this: if a project is change, think about how an energy corporation over the last 20 years has had to adopt to change. All the governance, right? Authorizations and signatures that have changed and have to be applied. And then compliance, are we following proper process and procedure? And so, number one, project management itself has had to adapt to how the energy industry is working. And number two, projects are a really nice way for an energy, fuel, and oil company to actually say, we're doing this correctly. See, we have a project manager who has a list of signatures and has a list of quality assurance and have a list of occupational safety and health compliance. It's all packaged within what we call a project.
Okay. We have an anonymous question. Do students that finish the capstone still have to take the PMP exam? And those two things are kind of separate in the sense of the capstone is giving you the demonstrated skills along the lines of this program, but if you want the official PMP certification from the Project Management Institute, you need to take their exam separately. However, the boot camp includes preparation for the exam, so the things kind of go hand in hand, but they aren't identical to each other. What are some of the quicker options? Randy asked, what are some of the quicker options that result in PMP certification through Simplilearn? And outside of this bootcamp program, we do have separate focused certification programs that focus simply on what you need to know in order to pass the PMP to become qualified at that level, so that it's not just learning how to answer the questions, it is learning the skills, but it's focused centrally on the PMP. And you've done a number of those courses, haven't you?
Yeah. Stuart, can I give you some data?
Yeah, please do.
Over the last 2 decades and working with 10,000 people, okay, I've known 3 people who picked up a book, studied, and passed the exam, period.
Yeah.
If you're working in a peer-based group, industry studies, research from places like Forrester and Gartner and other places that look at education and ed tech, 50 to 75% of the people in a peer-based group where you have a bunch of students teaching each other pass the exam the first time. When you start getting a formal infrastructure like we have with an expert-led and facilitated environment, you get to a 95 to a 98% chance of passing. And that's one of the reasons why this is powerful. And then now put on top of that, what we're talking about is getting the knowledge and attributes and getting the experience on top of this. It makes for a very interesting package.
Yeah. And a last question from Osna, who says, what do you say about when companies are looking for experience? How does this program, because the PMP doesn't particularly ask for or certify that you have experience, but this bootcamp program differs from that. So.
Actually, this is what's interesting. To apply for the PMP exam, you need to have 2 to 3, actually, what is it, 36 months or 60 months of demonstrated leading and managing projects. So the PMP demonstrates this person has been, quote unquote, managing and doing projects, and also shows their expertise in that. So even the PMP has both those facets of it. It's really a wild credential.
Yeah. Thank you for that correction. I appreciate that. And then the bootcamp program itself takes you into experiential learning with different projects up to and including the capstone, so that adds to your basis. Okay, and that is all the time we have for the questions. So I'm going to apologize if we didn't get to your question. I think we got to most of them, but I will ask one last question of you in the audience. And that is simply, if you are interested in joining the program, my computer is not going to crash out on me. It may do. If I can launch this poll. Give me a moment, please be patient.